Good morning, everyone, and welcome to my podcast. My name is Lynette. Today we're going to talk about you are needed. Each and every one of us is needed to be a beacon of light in which could be considered to be a dark world. And I don't mean that in a negative way, because there is a high percentage of wonderful things going on. But since the beginning of time, people have sought out and sought after peace. And when I think about what is going on in the world, starting with our country, all the way to the wars that are going on, the way that human beings treat each other, those of us that have tried and worked so hard to become a moral, grounded person are a beacon of light at this point, and I believe it's time for us to utilize it. And it starts with us. Why shouldn't it start with us? Because it started with one person or peoples to change it, where it's become more and more of a decline in natural human skills. For example, manners, morals. And I think for those of us that have worked so long and finding peace for ourselves, that it's time to spread it out. And it does all start with one person. The good starts with one, and the bad starts with one. Each and every one of us has the ability to be a beacon of light, to set an example for someone below us or someone above us. We never know who's watching. We never know how many generations it's going to travel to. As I said earlier, I noticed a decline in manners, morals, and it's time that we work toward turning that around. And those of us that are connected are on the same page in terms of wanting a better world, because we've worked so hard to make ourselves all that we can be, to live our best lives, physically, mentally, emotionally. And now it's time to spread it out, and it will. I know you don't feel like you yourself can do much, but you can, and you are needed to set an example, and it travels and overflows and goes on and on. And I'm so happy that this podcast reaches the entire world, because it takes one person to start it flowing onto the other person. And I know that when we are living our best life, it can be so much better if the world around us is so much better. And again, it all starts with us. It starts with us in our offices. It starts with us in our families. It starts in us with our relationships. And even though most of us have never met, I believe we have the same goals. We are like-minded people. Not only do we want to live our best life, we want to live in the present moment, we want to live in health and happiness, but we want the world around us to live in health and happiness. I know this sounds like a large order, and I know you might be thinking, how can one person make a difference? And I don't want to talk politics, but as we all know, one person did make a difference. So it just goes to show you how what you say, what you do, how you conduct yourself is contagious. Since the beginning of this podcast, we have been working on peace within ourselves, light within ourselves. And now I believe it's time for us to spread that light, spread that peace. And personally, my hopes, my dreams, and I know it's kind of a cliche because we've heard it forever, is to somehow, some way, that peace will find its way around the world. We can all take our corner of the world and make it a better place to live. It is our responsibility to do so. I know we've talked about not being in a negative mode, but being in a more positive frame of mind. And if that alone can spread out and it starts with you, then what a much better world it would be if people didn't speak negatively or even whisper negatively about each other. What a pleasant place it would be to live if we could move a little more in that direction. And as I said earlier, be an example by the way you live your life. And I know that we are all human beings. I know that sometimes we feel beaten down by life. But for the most part, we also know how to live. We also know how to find that inner peace. And we also know how to live by example. And we also know how to be an example. Just by being an example with your group of friends, in your home, in your office. I'm going to share a little example with you. When I was very young, I met a girl. We became friends pretty quickly. We became best friends. And she had a gift, and I believe she was my gift from God. Because no matter what I was going through, she had the patience to sit there and listen to me. I mean, literally, sometimes for hours. And her only remarks would be in the positive realm. And that girl has taught me so much. Her friendship is invaluable to me. I believe she helped mold me, whether she knew it or not. I believe she helped mold me to the person that I am now. I'll give you kind of a funny example. I was going to buy my first home, and the only thing that I was disappointed about was that it was wood siding instead of stucco. And she made a gesture like, yeah, but wood. And she made her hands go in a certain movement. And so she made me even feel good about my house. But I'm just using this funny example because in life, that's how we should be for each other. We should make them feel better about what's going on. And she did. And again, I don't know if she ever knew she was an example for me. The point being, in a positive realm, we can be a positive example for each other. And I don't think she ever knew what her positivity did for me. As I said, I think it helped shape me into the person that I am. And this young girl, she was very young at the time. And then we became friends throughout our life. But I don't think she ever knew what she really did for me or meant to me. And when we set examples for others, when we live our best lives, when we have a positive attitude, when we talk to people and make them feel just a little bit better, or give them a glance, a smile, or let them know you're listening to them, we may never know what we're doing for them. But they know, and they will for sure remember. They will always remember. It is amazing what we can do to and for each other. When I hear things that are going on in the world, as I mentioned earlier, I can't believe human beings would do this to other human beings. But they do. So if they have the ability to do the unthinkable, just think how much easier and better the world would be if we did good for each other. All the other episodes have been building our positivity, how to carry ourselves, how to think. And now it's time to share it. It's time to share it with our friends. It's time to share it with our neighbors. It's time to be that light. There is no mistake that you were brought to this podcast or to hear these words. So we can choose to be that light for the entire world. And never, ever underestimate yourself, because one person can make a huge difference. You are needed. Don't underestimate what you can do, who you are. And that is really the most important job in the world. In fact, with the holidays, coming up on us, I think the most important thing or the best gift you can give someone is a gift of love, the gift of peace, the gift of making them feel better about themselves, the gift of listening to them, the gift of letting them know that they're being heard. So I'm urging you from this day forward, let's all try to be that light. Let's all start with our individual groups of people that we're around. Let's all start with being positive to them and being a beacon of light to them and showing them love. And let's hope that it grows to reach the entire world. And I believe it can. I believe it starts with us. It starts with one person. It starts with a handful of people, and so on and so forth. But I am encouraged, and I feel like now is the time to start thinking about this, to start joining hands, if you will, even though we're in all different areas of the world. It starts with us, and we all are like-minded. We all want the same thing. We want peace within ourselves, peace within our families, health, happiness, and peace within the world. And what a great place it would be. But it's got to start somewhere, and I believe it's got to start with us and anyone who's like us. Feel free to share this podcast or just tell them what you've learned or just show it by example. Until next week, God bless you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.